This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
This is Everything Elite, presented by MyBookie, the world's best podcast devoted exclusively to All Elite Wrestling and the Elite Extended Universe. I'm AB Aaron. I'm joined by my good friend, Mike Spears. What's up, Mike?
Hey, y'all. It's your old pal, Iron Mike Spears. I'm doing pretty well. I'm feeling good. I feel like I'm looking good. I got the I got the fancy tracksuit on today, and I'm just trying to get through day every day. I'm taking it day by day, I guess, after it takes me 10 seconds to stop stammering. How are you, AB?
He's taking it word by word and day by day, folks.
Exactly.
I'm doing all right. No, I don't know. Can't really think of anything that's going on. I'm just here, Nate, you're here. How are you doing, bud?
Here I am. You know what I'm here for? I'm here for just this high quality, top notch banter we've got at the top of the show.
Yeah.
We're all just knocking it out of the park.
Yeah.
Mike, I'm a little disappointed. You said you're doing well, but you did not fill up your mental health thermometer there on the whiteboard behind you. There's still I think it's still at the same level it was last week. I would like to see that get a little bit higher on these weeks when you're peaking.
Okay. Then for you, I'm going to go off mic and I'm going to fill this up here. Tell me when. Okay.
Well, I can't tell you
us
when for a couple reasons. One, you're going to be away from your headphones, so that's going to make it tough.
I have a long cord.
Whoa, you can reach. How close is that thing to you? What?
What the fuck?
My scale of this room just got totally.
Oh, shit.
That was like a visual trick. What was that? An optical illusion?
Yes.
I thought that thing was at like the far end of the room from you.
No. I'm in a little alcove in my office.
I see. Oh, whoa. Aaron, you're with me on this, right?
No, this is blowing my mind. It's like you live in like an MC Escher painting that I can't figure out.
Yeah, I thought that whiteboard was like twice the size and like on the far wall from you.
No.
Oh my God.
All right, now I'm going to adjust it because that actually got me in an even better mood. Here we go.
Wow. Okay.
Wow, I can't believe he can reach this from his chair. This tracksuit also in all its glory here is like amazing.
I feel like I'm through the looking glass here. My entire perception of Mike's room was just torn asunder and rebuilt in an instant.
And of course, podcasting is a visual medium.
Yeah.
So
I wish we could share with our listeners the experience of doing 100 of these things and seeing Mike's recording studio set up here, and then all of a sudden realizing you'd been viewing it exactly wrong the entire time.
I mean, did you just like think that like my signed 8x10 from Konami was just massive on my wall? Like, did you think
yeah, I guess I must have.
Did you think that my art Sadaharu O is just like poster size? Like,
I just thought maybe that was close to you, but I've always thought the whiteboard was almost like on a different wall or something.
I thought the whiteboard was flush with your door. Like I thought that was the same wall.
No, there's like a bookshelf behind that.
Yeah, it's such a clean break from the wall to the bookshelf. I think that it just didn't compute visually.
No.
Then did you just think I have like a strip of things on my back wall? I had like this is kind of blowing my mind. Like I felt like it was kind of assumed here that like, I'm in an out.
Now that I've had my visual understanding corrected, there's all sorts of questions that I like. Why did I not realize this sooner? But Aaron was right with me, so I feel like, wow.
I mean, I do live in a form of magical realism, so it is kind of fitting that
could be it. Your scale is just all over the place. It varies from square foot to square foot.
It's all asunder to y'all today.
I also want to out myself as I wanted to say MC Escher, but I couldn't remember his name, so I Googled stairs art. And it came up on the first page. Sick.
Well, there we go.
All right. Well,
that is his shtick. He is the stairs art guy.
I gotta say, Nate, I think we turned that banter around there, and by that I mean you turned the banter.
Well,
around.
yeah, thank
so
you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
I mean, I am the active reason, so you're welcome.
That's true.
Are you
Your
the active
existence.
reason? I don't know. I catalyzed your motion toward the whiteboard, so I would say I was the active element, and you were merely reactive to me.
Yeah, but we could both agree that Bentley had absolutely jack
right,
shit
man.
to do.
Along for the ride.
Yeah,
on our
right.
coattails as usual.
That's the story of this podcast. So happy to be here. Thanks everyone for joining us on this show. No, that's not what I'm going to say next. What I'm going to say next is, if you want more of our banter, you can find it on Twitter at everything AEW. I'm at Aaron Like the Car. Nate is at Epitasis. Mike is at Fuji Heya. Subscribe to this podcast on the podcast app of your choice. Give us a 5-star rating and a review if you use the Apple Podcast app. And go check out patreon.com/everythingelite if you want to support the show. All right, we're going to get right into it. I don't know. I don't know. I think everybody had very positive feelings about this show. And I think I was a little more in the middle. So I'm interested to see where our views depart on this episode. But we'll get it started with Elite or Delete. Nate, your favorite thing from the show?
Favorite thing from the show. So I believe discussed on this very podcast last week that Will Hobbs had kind of been made to be an afterthought in his little program that they were doing. You know, they had this will they, won't they thing with Team Taz, and the feud was based around Darby, and then Will Hobbs is the rescue guy, and then Cody got involved. And it just seemed like week after week, Will Hobbs didn't have any matches to wrestle. He was just kind of the last guy to show up on the scene and make the save for Darby or Cody, even when maybe it wasn't necessary, or it seemed like maybe he was missing his cue or something. So I pointed that out last week. I think, Aaron, you said, some people have theorized this is because he's actually going to join Team Taz. And so he doesn't want to tip his hand by, going out there and attacking Team Taz, or, being there to actually make a difference on these angles. And it turned out that was correct. That was the big angle we got on this show, full of angles, with Will Hobbs making the save, we think, for Cody and Darby Allin after the main event, picking up the FTW title, which Brian Cage left in the ring, and then clocking Cody with it to a big reaction. I think I was pretty surprised. I did not genuinely expect it. I kind of thought they were just going to put this guy in a white meat baby face role. And I find this is much more interesting. I totally got worked by the ongoing Will Hobbs angle here. Was happy to be worked. So got to give it up to the booking for that attention to detail and this big angle that worked in a big way.
And it's something that, one thing that I've liked with what they've done with Team Taz is that they have not made Team Taz ever look like that they are silly heels. They are serious heels. And even though like the whole Will Hobbs thing kind of was played out the way it did, it makes them look like they're incredibly smart heels. And it's something that I really like on this. I think it's something that for someone like Hobbs, having like I'm excited about this trio. Like this trio rules, and how they can go from here. Like, are they going to then use like Cody versus Hobbs as like an intermediary feud? There's a lot of ways to go with it, and it's all pretty interesting. I mean, it does now really feel like, though, that we're at a point where Team Taz is going to diverge, where it's going to be like Cage and Hobbs doing one thing, and then Ricky Starks doing the TNT title feud with Darby Allin. And I'm okay with that. I think that you can do multiple things at the same time. So I thought like that this was just full marks across the board.
Yeah, I've been saying for a while that the Team Taz Darby thing is the most compelling story in the company, and I think that continued to play out. Somebody, I think in the Discord, not sure, but somebody somewhere said that this angle felt like it elevated the whole crop of people who were involved. Of like, it went from kind of an upper mid-card angle to like, oh no, this is like the main event, and this can be the main event going forward. So I think it was very successful. Yeah,
they've got, I was kind of struck by that, and struck by in general. They've set up a lot of units in this company now. They continue to do that, and reunited some on this show. There's not any that feel like they're not viable. They all feel like they're like every unit, even if some have taken losses or been put on the back burner a little bit, they all have something in their formation or in what they've done in the company that you can latch onto and say, oh yeah, no, Team Taz, they're legit. They're contenders. They're a force to be reckoned with in the company. That's, there's not one I can like point out and go, oh, they're weak. They're jobbers. They're nothing.
And I think that's like a good way for me to kind of get into my elite thing. And that is you have like this powerful trio now. We had the reuniting of Death Triangle and the partitioning of the family to what it looks like it's going to be Eddie and the Butcher and the Blade. And then, of course, Lucha Brothers and Pac. We've got some really like spicy trios going on here. And that's something that I feel like that is an underserved niche, at least for wrestling. I think that there's only like a few companies that have been able to do trios or 6-man titles in an interesting fashion. But this was something that our friend Kara brought up in the Discord about like being able to like push this like belt as idea of like what group is the top group. Like the thing that she brought up was how in Dragon Gate they say that the Triangle Gate is the representative of what unit is strongest at this time. And I'm not saying that they need to have another title when they have already have like all these things. Like, are we supposed to get like a ring match for MJF this year? That's an aside. But having like all these trios and having Death Triangle together, they could do a trios tournament now. And I feel like we've said this like 6 months ago, and I think it'd be really hot. So like, I'm here for all the trios are popping up, and it give us something extra and something different to have on the TV shows over the next few weeks. So I'm stoked about everyone just making friends.
Yes, I love when people make friends. I'm pro friends. I'm not as much of a trios pervert as Mike Spears is, but I'm always in favor of something that can let other people get involved, that aren't necessarily involved in like the top feuds or whatever. I disagree with the idea that there's like that AEW needs more belts, though. Like, I think they're doing fine on belts. It doesn't mean that it's a bad idea to add a trios title or any other title that they want to add. But I feel like with the size of the roster and the amount of television time they have, they're fine with the titles that they have so far.
What about like just a tournament? I feel like they could do a tournament.
Oh, no, that'd be great. Like when they kind of did, they did the women's tag team tournament, which turned out okay. But yeah, just like a cool tournament to give people something to do, give them some bragging rights. You'd have to, execute it better than they executed the women's tag team cup as far as like giving the winner something. But yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah, I certainly don't think they need more titles because they have enough titles. They don't really have enough time for all the talented people that are on the roster, which is a good problem to have. But, you can imagine how some people on the roster would want to be featured more often or make TV more often. So yeah, I think trios titles are particularly interesting. Maybe if that's for the second show, maybe trios titles are exclusive to the third hour or something. Maybe trios titles are an annual tournament where they just do it once every year. And then, the defending team only has to come back once a year and defend it and make it a special thing, that kind of way. Just because you mentioned the women's tag title tournament, they also did on the cruise intergender matches. I'm kind of entertained by the idea just to kind of keep gender parity and some, obviously not real gender parity, but to approximate it. I'm kind of intrigued, and maybe this is because Saki Akai was just the DDT Trios champion, but I'm kind of intrigued by the idea of making the Trios titles gender neutral, just saying, yeah, anybody can challenge for them, because that would just create a new sort of division that opens up some matches that you don't get to do elsewhere. And, lets you do some more creative booking that way. And it also helps you make those titles distinct and have their own identity.
Well, speaking of women, my elite is going to be the sudden realization by AEW that women exist. They exist, folks. They're here. This show had 3-4 segments that was focused on women. I mean, they were pretty quick segments, but but we like to reward any sort of positive movement. So we got this nice little match. Well, it was a good match with Serena and Thunder Rosa. I kind of hated the run-in part of the angle because it didn't lead to the finish, but then Rosa lost anyway. So it's like she didn't overcome it, but it also didn't like immediately cost her the match. So it's like, well, what was the point of it?
Well, I actually like that because it still kind of gives her an out. She only lost because she got attacked in the fucking middle of the match. If that hadn't happened, who knows what would have happened to the finish. But it kind of just decreases the idea of it being a cheap finish a little bit because they continue to wrestle a match. So it is, you can't do it all the time, but from time to time, it kind of succeeds for me in having your cake and getting it too.
But you had that. Then you had the really hot Rosa and Britt brawl after the match that I thought they did really well. You had the Jade Cargill angle. Obviously, they're going to use her. She's going to be built up. It looks like she's in a feud with Brandy to get started, but she's there. Then you had the segment with John Silver, basically letting us know that Anna Jay was going to be challenging Hikaru Shida. And then Shida's like heating that up on Twitter too. So it's like, okay, there's some things that are moving. I'm not ready to say, that they've like our friend Raw, that they fixed the women's division because not sure that I'm going to give them that much credit for something that they've done for exactly one total week so far. But it's at least something that is going somewhere, and it's a huge pushback on this terrible idea that Serena Deeb put out last week that there aren't enough women who are TV ready. In fact, it would be dangerous to put these women on TV. They'd hurt each other. It's like, okay, on this very show, we saw at least 4 women who are good enough to be on TV. Penelope Ford was on Dark this week. She's very good. They've had Red Velvet on TV. They only have Hikaru Shida wrestle about once a month on TV. They have, and we saw Big Swole on this episode too. Like she was involved in the Jade Cargill thing. You don't have to have 20 women who are TV ready to have a division. And of course they use a lot of the same men in the main event picture. So, I'm not sure that they feel like they don't have enough TV ready men there. So this episode pushed back on that, reminded everyone that women exist and planted some seeds for some things they can do going forward. So I like it.
Yeah. It was exciting to see them attempt to do multiple stories in the women's division on one show. That was exciting. I do want to give them credit for like getting it right, but also this is kind of an indictment of what they've been doing to this point, because look how fucking easy it was to do this. Like the Jade Cargill segment was 25 seconds. You couldn't have been doing that with any of the other talented women on the show up to this point. Like, the fucking the stop clock watchers are out there complaining about the women's division. All these people are counting the seconds on every show. It took 20. They couldn't find 20 free seconds on any other show to run a second fucking women's segment. It's like, I'm not expecting 50 minutes of women, but it's just like the fact that they wouldn't even do a short little promo like that, have a little Anna Jay promo, have a little Penelope Ford promo. That they couldn't do that before was illustrative of the fact that they didn't care to do it. So, anything else is just narrative.
And if you look at these segments, like the Jade Cargill, Brandy Rhodes segment, there's a lot of ways that just this 45 seconds of screen time, like you had Red Velvet and Serena Deeb that were tending to Brandy. So you have like trio there, like going back to trios. And then you had Big Swole coming up there. So she's in it. So actually that's in Atomicos now. But you also had Nyla there. Nyla Rose was there. Vicky Guerrero was there. So like you have like the idea of there's ways you can go from this and it's not even like expending like the stopwatch thing. It's just putting forth any sort of thought into this. Like
Of course, Mike, that's also a reminder that Vicky Guerrero was there, that that we can't count on them to follow through on things, because they literally ran an angle at the pay-per-view with Nyla and Vicky, breaking down, and then here she is with Nyla on TV 2 weeks later.
Oh, that's entirely fair. But it's something that still you have all these people involved and you did this, and you've given motivation in 45 seconds. You have Anna Jay's motivation in a minute. It's not necessarily like trying to do a comparative analysis. It's just putting forth any sort of effort into this that I feel like is not unreasonable to ask. But we got this week.
Yeah, our just in time, because our friends at Defector picked up on the shittiness of the women's division this week and had a column that was not bad. It was good. I mean, it's hard to I sympathize with the author, Lauren Thiessen, not sure how to pronounce her name, but I sympathize with her because she basically said, just fucking do more. I can't really give you a huge take here, because the take is just do more than you're doing now. So she's right. Okay, well, our listener elite comes from a very good friend of the show, friend of all of us, Tharos, who said the general show pacing, the fastest feeling Dynamite in a while. I saw this kind of going around a lot, that people thought this moved pretty quickly.
Yeah, I thought that this was such of a breeze of a show, where it was something where it was, I guess, because the top of the hour show that they had, or something they had, was Pac versus Blade. It was something that, after the Jade Cargill attacking Brandy Rhodes thing, I was like, oh, wait, this show is already 2/3 of the way over. And it just felt like it kind of went by. And I think that's another thing about having these 45-second segments that get to the point and get out. You don't waste time, and it keeps things moving. I'm a big fan of keeping things moving. You know how much on Dark AB that whenever I think a match is going on too long, I want to hit the button and just do the old talk and shop mania fast forward to the finish. But they did a good job this week of how it was paced, considering how many angles and segments there were this week.
All right, well, let's talk about the things we didn't like from the show. Nate, your delete pick of the week.
Well, speaking of angles, really, really great job by all of us here of segueing right into the next person's selection. I understand that
we don't plan this, folks.
Hey, mine were intentional, actually. I understand that this is a fake combat sport entertainment product, and you're going to do a lot of backstage attacks and run-ins and post-match attacks and big brawls. And most of them on this show were even pretty good. But it is actually ridiculous to have a attack angle in literally every segment on the show, except for those in Las Vegas. You can go down the rundown. I think maybe the backstage promo with John Silver having Anna Jay issue a challenge to Hikaru Shida, I think is literally the only segment in Florida that didn't have some sort of attack angle taking place. And it's Tony Khan went on Observer Radio, and made a bold and brazen appeal to the voters that he wants the Best Booker award. He called out Gato and said, Gato, you did this big angle with Evil, and on the very same show, you did a big angle with the Dangerous Techers, laying out Tanahashi and Ibushi. And he took Gato to task, saying, you're not accomplishing as much by doing both those angles together, because somebody's only going to remember one of them, which I find ironic, because TK booked this show and just was like, okay, and then there's an attack, and then there's an attack, and then there's an attack, and you just get diminishing returns. You get angle inflation. The attacks just mean a little bit less, and we come to expect them. It's not a shocking attack for Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker to start brawling at ringside after the match, after the run-in, because if there's a camera on the ring, there's going to be an attack. We just know that now. So, minor gripe, and again, all of them pretty much worked. It's silly. It just kind of it's got a little bit of a TNA feeling, attack angle to the back.
It did have a to the back kind of vibe to it this week. It was something where outside of the Moxley promo, I think everything had, and I guess maybe Silver and Anna, Anna Jay.
But Moxley did get laid out after that promo.
To be fair, you're right. There was something like that. And I mean, I probably wasn't going to submit a ballot to the Observer anyways, but I don't think that I would have put this. I don't think that Tony Khan would be getting my vote. But that's a bold shot.
Who would be getting your vote this year, Mike? Are you opening the gate?
The gate remains open in the Spears household. And I thoroughly believe that the person that is always credited, Genki Horiguchi, is the Booker of the Year, in my opinion.
There you go.
He's
Genki
not the real Booker,
Horiguchi
though.
in the Elite verse this week.
Yes, he was. We got some backslides.
Well, let's backslide right into your delete pick here, Mike.
Yeah, this Inner Circle hangover thing, it just kind of went on forever. Like, this was like the only time that like Astaro said, like, the show was really like snappy. It got to the thing, and it's something where I feel like it's not even that's an old reference, because I feel like this movie is like kind of a part of greater popular culture canon at this point, but it's something where it just was lame and not it was one of those things that was like making the reference versus actually being funny, and that's one of my least favorite thing is humor that's just making the reference, and it kind of went on for way too long. Having Conan show up and smoke them out, that was great. Like, that was the highlight of the things, but like Swoggle and a baby and like the baby diaper, like the hangover, like the idea of MJF getting soft written all over his face, like I don't like all the thing about like the Everclear just went on forever, and just like, was it all really necessary? Like was this like the necessary like funny like breakdown thing that's worth what all they did to do this? And I think the answer is no.
Yeah, I didn't like The Hangover in the first place. Thought it was pretty overrated for its era. I think you're correct. If I want to shout out one segment of this, I think that Sammy Guevara's performance was pretty good in maintaining the tension between him and MJF, and even playing that while drunk. So that jumped out to me. But other than that, no real jokes to speak of here. Mostly a lot of references. It's hard to fault it, because I think your average wrestling fan probably goes fucking wild for a reference or two. Probably sees something recognized and I go, aha, I remember that, and then that carries them through the segment. But didn't really work for me. I guess if I want to give them credit, they went to the effort of shooting a bunch of vignettes on location to advance the story in some way, I guess. And having gone to that expense and coming up with these bits and shooting them and editing them, it was still relatively brief. They hit 2 video segments and then they were kind of done with it. And I think that was just enough.
Wasn't Jericho on commentary like randomly saying, "Hey, that was wild," and that was it afterwards?
Yeah, he literally came out to do like a button on it and said, "Hey, that was it. Next week we're gonna do a match," and then he went home. Which I guess they didn't think they had a payoff good enough to close the loop on those segments, so they just wanted to have him out there in some way to remind people that it was over and Chris Jericho's here in this company and he's going to wrestle. Yeah, that was a little unusual.
Well, speaking of bad jokes, I guess I'll be the one to do it. I'm going to delete Jim Ross from this company, from existence, just generally. Again, I mean, not only does he keep calling women Jezebels on this show week after week, but this time they're doing, I mean, it's hard, to criticize something that takes the piss out of AEW heels to begin with, but yet I have to. They were doing the heels hard sell that they do in every women's match on this promotion's television show. And Jim Ross said, "Oh, do you think they have bake sales?" And like, that's bad enough. But then he goes on Twitter and it's like, "Oh, I guess you just don't get humor, do you? New to comedy, huh?" And he's also funny. He's like, "It was actually a self-defecating joke about me being fat."
Well, he sure did shit his pants. So
he did self-defecate. So I just think, I think it was Kath Barbadoro said this on Twitter. It's like, look, it's time to just tell JR at the very least to go to the bathroom during women's matches and just not call women's matches, if nothing else. I mean, but I think they should just take him off the desk, period.
Couldn't have had a fucking dumber line, and he's had dumb lines in the past. kind of what the fuck are they trying to do with AEW's heels here? I think Brandy's defense of it was like, oh, yeah, no, we don't have a great women's division, but we focus on the women fans because a lot of women's fans don't like women's wrestling, but they only plug it during the women's matches. So that kind of suggests that their, metrics say otherwise. And then, yeah, you're trying to get women to join this fan club, no objection to them doing a women's fan club. I think when they originally launched it, they intended to do like fan club or women's only seating, which is a great thing to do to, make a underrepresented demographic feel comfortable at your shows. But then you have fucking dumbass Jim Ross come out here and be like, women, they can bake me food. Just totally contrary to what you're trying to achieve. Makes you look super fucking old and out of touch. Eddie Kingston was like, yeah, Jim, it's fucking 2020. Catch up. And so Jim's like, oh, I'm not complaining. Well, it always sounds like you're complaining, Jim. So sorry about your fucking voice.
Eddie Kingston calling him out on that was something. But yeah, it's just, come on. Like, I get why he's around. He's not, would be my choice for this. But at a certain point, it's not, it is always on him. But at a certain point, you are enabling this. And that reflects on you. Even more so, I'd argue, than on Jim Ross himself, because Jim Ross can't control himself, apparently.
All right. Well, if Jim Ross wants to, get his shit back together, he should head over to MyBookie because big game for good old JR this weekend. It's Bedlam, I think. Oklahoma State versus Oklahoma. And I'm looking at it now. And it looks like JR Sooners are a 7-point favorite. So if Jim wants to bet on that, if anybody else wants to, they can head over to MyBookie. Of course, they also have NFL going on. I mean, college basketball is going to be back in like a week. So it's about time you can bet on that. You just have to use the promo code ELITE, ELITE, and you can get double your deposit bonus up to $1,000. They'll match it dollar for dollar. You put in $100, they'll give you 100. You put in $1,000, they'll give you 100 if you use the promo code ELITE. Mike, are you going to have a bet on Bedlam?
I stay away from Bedlam.
It's a good idea.
It's a game that is just not worth the effort. I'll tell you what game I'm thoroughly vested in right now, though, AB, and this is something for our viewers. Appalachian State from Boone, North Carolina versus the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers of Conway, South Carolina. This is a game that I'm vested in right now. It's two of the best a group of 5 teams are facing off this week, and App State is a +5 favorite. AB, there's a lot of ways you can go on this bet. So
Mike's heavy on App State, folks.
I mean, the 170 money line seems also tasty, and then also they're about to announce their Thanksgiving bets, which is a big thing. I remember us talking earlier about when they do like their kind of crazy bets that they would like to do. I think they did to start the NFL season this year. They had a bunch of those. So keep posted. And it's something that, I mean, again, for our promo code ELITE, you get 100% free up to $1,000. And, if with the holidays, there's going to be a lot of stuff on that you could probably bet on that's not even sports related. Like you could, I guess table tennis is sports related, to be fair.
Sure. I mean, let's be frank. You don't want to go see your family because of COVID. That's going to be sad. So to get a little dopamine fix, bet on some sports, bet on some games.
They do have a Survivor Series, which I did not know is this weekend bets up.
There you go.
Right
so
now.
It just makes you feel better to bet on sports and see how it turns out. So head over to MyBookie, promo code ELITE. All right. Ratings. Big week for our friends at AEW. Up to 850,000, almost 100,000 increase in viewers. 7th in the demo with a 0.37. I would say their total viewers and that demo was the highest that we've seen in some time. I'm sure Mike will give us the dope on that. NXT flat, 0.14 in the demo, 638,000, down a little in the demo, really. But a real good week for AEW.
Yeah, so this was the highest demo that they've had since September 9th, which was during like all the adjustments because of NBA and the playoffs. So they ran completely uncontested that week. So they were ahead there. This is their best P2s since the NBA playoffs. So like that was really remarkable to me. The thing that really got me, and I know this is something that Dave Meltzer has pointed out and has gotten a lot of people kind of up in their feelings about, their P18 to 34 was a huge jump, almost doubled it in 1 week alone. And apparently that's really that's higher than what WWE Raw did this week. Interesting enough, AEW was only 300ths of a demo point out of being the outright number one show on cable last night. If you take out the NBA draft, was on last night. It dominated, had 3 of the top 5 shows, had a 1.1 demo. It dominated, but not as much as one would expect. So I have some investment advice for NXT right now, Aaron, that I feel like that they need to do. And it's about time for them to look into a timeshare, because they've been spending a lot of time at 56th place. This is their 4th week out of the last 7. So, it's no Pitch and Forge. It's no Myrtle Beach, but you might want to look into a timeshare there at 56th.
Nice. I guess the big question is going to be if they can get over 1 million. Or, can they improve on this 850 for the big Winter is Coming show on December 2? Any predictions?
I mean, I think it's achievable. They've broken 1 million live viewers repeatedly for individual segments recently. And we know they're getting over 1 million viewers regularly with DVR viewership. So the question is, can they get those people to turn in live for a world title match that's been built between, 2 of your 5 biggest single stars? Yeah, I think they can. John Moxley's builds are better than everybody else's builds, accepting what MJF wanted to do with his little election shit. So, yeah, I think they can get there.
All right, well, we will see. This certainly, I don't know. I can't explain it other than I guess people are just moving away from news and coming back to AEW. So, I don't know, but we'll see if this keeps up going forward.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. It still was like Fox News stuff that was ahead of them, but not by a lot, but only like 0.03 away from Tucker Carlson in the demo. Like that.
So the libs have left MSNBC to come back to AEW.
I guess, man. I'm still trying to piece this out, but I think that 1 million P2 is entirely possible, especially given how they are trying to crank this up for there. And I mean, they spent their build up, at least for the show, especially with Team Taz versus Darby and Cody, was something that they kind of went forth the extra effort. So I'll be real interested to see how well this quarter hour performs. So, I think it's realistic to think they could get a 1 million average and maybe above a 0.4 and 18 to 49 for the first time in over a year.
I saw a friend of the show, Chris Hayes, was putting up near NXT demo numbers. It's just very sad.
Well, what'll be interesting to see is if, miraculously Trump doesn't succeed in his coup attempt and does indeed cause some sort of schism in the Trump and Fox News relationship, and he goes off to his Newsmaxes or OANs or, OAN presented by the Trump network. If that causes a schism in those nightly demo numbers for Fox News, because that could be a big opportunity. What AEW fans should be hoping for is that Trump legitimizes Newsmax, brings them onto the grand stage, and cuts that Fox News audience down. I think that'd be great for AEW and great for democracy.
All right, Nate, you've done this 2 times now. Have I been saying schism wrong my entire life?
Yes, if you've been saying schism, I think it's probably either or. You check the Wikipedia pronunciation guide.
I'm seeing a K here, Nate.
Okay, is it a soft K?
I don't know. You actually can't trust me on reading pronunciations. No clue what those things are.
No, I don't know that we were ever received any sort of education on reading pronunciations. At least I didn't.
No, I certainly didn't. So, okay, well, let's move into.
I think schism just sounds. Schism is maybe a little your guys' neck of the woods, and schism.
Maybe
is what the. I'm trying to subtly do a condescending northerner major metropolitan area voice here, but
also the only good Tool song, Schism.
You didn't like Parabola? Is that one?
I don't know, man.
Maybe
I
that's
just
off
really
the same
like that.
album.
I just really like that bass riff.
There's a story about I
I
bought fuck, how do you pronounce it? Lateralis?
Yeah.
Is that it? Yeah.
I think so.
I went out and bought that album probably at a Borders because Carson Daly plugged it on TRL for some reason.
Oh, this is good.
I don't know what motivated me to like. I can't imagine they played it on TRL, but he definitely like shouted it out for some reason. I was like, "Ooh, I'm going to check that out," and then I went and bought it, and I liked it for a long time.
That was a classic Carson Daly thing of always trying to be like, okay, actually, I'm cool. I don't like any of this shit.
Well, that's what we do on this show when we shout out random Joshi references.
Okay, I guess that's true. We are the Carson Dalys of podcasting.
Yeah, we're 3 Carson Dalys, that's for sure.
I don't know though. We're pretty like earnestly. We pretty much earnestly enjoy AEW and are like honest about when we enjoy it. So
hey, well, yeah, I don't know that Carson Daly probably loved hanging out with Brittany and Christine all the time. It probably has its perks.
I believed. Okay, this is embarrassing. I believed until approximately 6 months ago that Carson Daly and Steven Jenkins from Third Eye Blind were brothers because they used to say that on TRL all the time.
Okay, I don't remember that reference.
Yeah, that's beyond me.
Well, the real TRL heads will know.
I do remember another album that I bought on Carson Daly's recommendation or plug was the sophomore, I think, Eve 6 album, the one with like the Here's to the Night, that one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I bought that one because Carson Daly made a big deal about it on TRL, and I was like, oh yeah, I love that Blender song. I'm gonna go get that.
I liked Eve's. I mean, that one Eve 6 album is good. I'm just not sure which one that is.
It's something though, and actually, AB, I was enjoying your episode of Art School Albums earlier today. Like you're talking about the zeitgeist with Case, about how TRL was such a thing, and like the whole overall idea that the year 1999 collectively all broke our brains, and especially with like TRL is like the big example of like you want to see like how white people of a certain age are the way they are. Get people that were either pro NSYNC versus pro Backstreet Boys, and both of them had a video they're trying to push up TRL.
Yeah, it's like if you love the K-pop stands now, I mean, there was just a time where the NSYNC versus Backstreet Boys thing was just as serious.
It's the exact same, except that the K-pop stands have the outlet of social media.
Yeah.
Yeah. So instead of making, your phone calls from your parents' phone in your bedroom or whatever, you're like organizing harassment campaigns or like organizing fundraising charitable campaigns. Yeah, there was a good article on, maybe it was Current Affairs, maybe it was the New Republic, maybe it was something else, about how like K-pop stands kind of figured out online organization before any other like actual interest group in an interesting way. Yeah, same shit with people buying multiple NSYNC albums because they wanted to beat Backstreet Boys or whatever.
Yeah, I was just thinking that if whoever can weaponize K-pop stands or like turn some of the leaders of K-Popistan into, social activists, into, campaign leaders, is going to experience a real breakthrough.
Well, that happened to some degree during this most recent election, with them flooding the Trump site for ticket requests and shit.
That's true.
And they do. They're like regularly get some kind of news article because the QAnon people will try to do some hashtag and the K-pop people will just flood it with fan cams and tear it down basically.
I just I see AOC saying the Democratic Party really sucks at social media, and to that I say AOC x BTS is the answer.
Yeah, no, Biden for sure needs BTS at the Washington Monument for inauguration.
Absolutely. Biden, I don't know what BTS stands for, but I'm going to put Biden in it.
Bang, I can't. It does stand for something.
Yeah, and then you can have him play Dynamite. I mean, it all works together. Like we could be talking about some great synergy going on here.
Oh yeah, Bang. I mean, I don't know how to pronounce Korean, obviously.
Yeah,
Bangtan Sonyeondan. Somebody. God, I hope no one who speaks Korean is listening.
It's something like, does it have the pronunciation or the literal translation there?
No, it just has it written in Korean.
It's something
Also known
soldiers.
as the Bangtan Boys.
Bangtan Boys. Yeah, so Biden needs to hook up with BTS. I think there's no question about it. I love that when I typed in BTS, the like people also ask, do BTS have girlfriends? Why is BTS so popular?
It's actually a better name than I gave credit for. Not soldiers. So Bangtan Sonyeondan is the Korean meaning. The literal translation is bulletproof Boy Scouts.
Oh, wow.
Which is pretty good.
That is cool.
Mean, you have to have them at the inauguration there. I mean, you have to. I mean, they're bulletproof. And
they should be dressed as Eagle Scouts.
Of course, I think QAnon would really have a day with naming a group the Biden Boy Scouts. So I think we should not do that.
No.
Okay. On that note,
should we actually go through the results?
Yeah, do you want to dig in some more on QAnon while we're here?
Speaking of the flight logs, Top Flight started this show.
Oh wow, we were doing so well on transitions, and then you just like Jim Ross, you just stepped in it.
The Top Flight logs kicked off the show,
and the classic JR Double Down.
I thought this was interesting, right? Because they talk a lot about their format, and basically they kicked the show off with a video, which they say, is like hard to get people to watch. But they had them come out to the ring and made very clear, like this match against the Young Bucks was happening. But then they went in to a video to tell us about Top Flight. The interesting thing about it, I thought, was them saying that they DM'd Matt Jackson and just straight up asked him to watch their highlight reel, and he responded in classic Matt Jackson fashion. It was like, fuck, we got to sign these guys based on this video. So he said, we'll have the head of talent relations, which I believe is Christopher Daniels, right? Reach out to them. And apparently Miro broke this news. I didn't know, but Tony Khan also confirmed it in an article that Nate shared today, that Top Flight's definitely signed to AEW.
Yeah, and they had a really good debut showing here for what is a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old team, I think.
Yeah.
Like pretty impressive on national cable television for the first time.
Yeah, the Bucks obviously won with the BTE trigger. I think Mike and I discussed this a lot in the Discord. It's like, okay, we all kind of thought the same thing about Private Party when they had the big Young Bucks Private Party match. So I think the first thing we have to take into consideration is that the Young Bucks are very, very good. And so we should be careful about, anointing Top Flight. But I think they certainly were at least more than good enough to be on national TV.
Yeah. And I think the big thing about this and about this point is the Bucks have a history of being able to plug teams into their formula and making them look great. And they've did this in PWG. They did this in Ring of Honor. They did this in New Japan. So I've seen a bunch of Top Flight, and I do think that they have a higher ceiling, no pun intended, than Private Party. But it is something that now I'm interested to see what comes from them next before throwing huge labels and declarations on them.
Yeah, I think that's fair. But I was impressed. Mostly I was impressed that for as young as they are, they didn't seem overwhelmed by the moment or even anxious at any time. Like they seem very comfortable. I'm sure that was also being in there with a team like the Bucks, but that can work both ways, right? Like on one hand, it's like, oh, we have the Bucks to lead us through this. On the other hand, it's like, I mean, these guys are young enough to have come up watching the Young Bucks. So I'm sure it was a starstruck type moment, at least at first for them. So kudos.
It is. You kind of forget that Nick Jackson is still pretty young.
31.
Yeah. He's I guess it's kind of I guess I'd call him this is appropriate because he would steal Nick Jackson's gear all the time. He's like the white tag team Okada, right? Because he's oh, you're probably getting in the Hall of Fame. And also you're not in your mid 30s yet.
It's something that that really kind of struck me watching that, Nate, is that so Matt is 35, Nick is 31. And the idea that Top Flight are 19 and 21, they saw the Bucks since they were kids. The Bucks have been figures for the last decade and longer than that if you're following them in other companies. And it's just this is the first true generational match. You remember whenever teams would face the Hardy Boys, when the Bucks faced the Hardy Boys, but how this was a big generational team kind of match. Growing up watching this, Top Flight definitely, like, at least they're adolescent, watch a lot of the Young Bucks.
I mean, yeah, they've been national figures since at least 2009, I would say. So
2009 with Dragon Gate USA. Yeah.
So they for sure people would know who they are. But yeah, good match. After the match, TH2 attacked Top Flight, and the Bucks chased them away. So we get the return of TH2, an immediate program, I guess, for them. So that's nice, and something cool for everybody to do.
This I just in my own head canon, like, of course Jack Evans would be mad about this and would just want to take out these kids because he's not a young man. He's like a embittered veteran who breakdances and is still super entertaining.
I'm all for this. I think this is a good feud for Top Flight if they're under contract. I think this is like a good way to kind of get them ingratiated. And, you know what I mean? Jack Evans was the high flyer even before Nick and Matt Jackson. So that's kind of cool as well.
Oh, wait. Who's the highest flyer? Is it Jack or is
AR
it
Fox?
AR Fox.
Jesus. Oh, that's my bad.
The highest flyer. It's Jack
There's
Evans.
a lot of competition there. If AR Fox is the highest flyer, he's getting very high because you got Jack, you got Matt. Those guys like to get high. I think the feud is TH2 versus the Bucks probably, and not so much Top Flight. Maybe they go through Top Flight first.
Yeah,
but it feels like the Bucks. TH2's been pretty relegated to the back burner for a while, and that seems like Matt Jackson, Nick Jackson. They probably want to get those guys online and running in this company.
Next up, we have the first Inner Circle Slays Vegas skit. I don't know, video. We've pretty much already talked about what happened. They were in Vegas. Conan was there. The one thing I did want to say, Nate, is you're right that I thought Sammy added like the heft to this, but I guess he's also a non-drinker. So actually pretty impressive the way he was able to capture like how a drunk person tells you they hate you. As someone who has regularly been told by drunk people that they hate him. Okay. Jon Moxley. He says he's got a promo video. He said it's a crazy ride he's been on for 16 years, but suddenly the whole world makes sense to him. He says that the reason he got here was because of his dad, who was a big, scary guy who picked him up from a police station. He didn't tell us how that got there. But he said his dad didn't hit him, which I guess was nice of his father. He said he looked at him and told him, we're the good guys. No matter what happens, remember, we're the good guys. So he talks about how everyone has tried to lie, cheat, and steal the title away from him. But he's known what to do because he knows we're the good guys. The whole world's bearing down on him. His body hurts. He drops the news that his wife is pregnant here in this promo, and talks about how he has 2 titles on 2 different on 2 different continents. So he says tonight he's going to walk to the ring, sign the contract, and let Kenny Omega know in no uncertain terms he's the best wrestler in the world. He's Jon goddamn Moxley, and that's never going to change.
I feel like this was one of Jon Moxley's best promos in the company. I felt like that he has been able to come off like as what a babyface champion should be in 2020, and just kind of like talking about like just like a very like simple story, and it's not him doing his joking that he likes to do sometimes, but it's like a simple story about saying I might be a rough guy, but I'm a good guy. And that was a lesson that my dad, who he doesn't talk, his dad's never really been a figure in his promos, but he brought it up there. And it just was like that. And then like dropping in the idea of like, oh yeah, now I'm having a kid and I'm going to part this, and kind of having the viewer infer that this is like lessons he's going to be passing on to his children as well. And I thought that was like really a nice, like understated promo. And I feel like that Moxley knocked it out of the park, and it's something that it's a shame that they did like another beatdown of Moxley right after this, because this, like, I think this is my favorite Jon Moxley promo in the company. Like, I feel like that it was that exceptional of a promo. Either this or like his post-title win promo. I thought this was great work from him.
Well, I was not that high on it. I thought it was pretty solid. I know they've made hay from about. I'm sorry to bring this up. Lance Archer and him having a feud in Japan before their feud here, but have they previously explicitly said, "Oh, I'm the champion in another company right now too"? I feel like it hasn't been addressed.
I don't recall that being addressed.
Yeah, I think this is maybe the first time that got mentioned.
They kind of would just say like, "Oh, we had a war in Japan."
Yeah,
but didn't really say what were the stakes or who won even, really.
Yeah. And even then it's like, oh no, currently, right now, I'm the champion in another promotion. Like, that's that jumped out of me, as well as the pregnancy news.
Yeah, it is interesting because it's like, well, how are they going to handle this whole deal where it looks like he's probably going to Japan to defend that title? And so I'm interested to see how AEW handles all that, since he'll probably need to be off TV for quite some time if that's going to happen.
Well, they can make it easy. The easy way to handle it is he loses the belt and then he disappears.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much handling, but I think we can reasonably infer that AEW has first dibs on Jon Moxley's dates in general.
Yeah.
So I think on some level it is probably regarded as AEW, Tony Khan, doing Jon Moxley a favor by letting him go to Japan and defend this title, and in doing so, doing New Japan a favor. So, that's kind of making those allowances is maybe the kind of thing that brings you into better terms with someone. So yeah, again, sorry to bring it up.
Oh, it's fine. I'm just thinking about now. He'll literally have to be off TV for a month to do that.
Yeah,
just from the quarantine.
Right, and that's I don't even mind that, especially if he's losing the title. Like, it's kind of good when somebody loses a belt like that to make you miss them for a little bit, right? Yeah. Even Brody Lee's been gone, guessing injured. But he lost the title, basically vanished from the Dark Order. There's somebody else that's just like
Cody was gone for a while after he lost the title.
Yeah. There's somebody, I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Next up, Orange Cassidy defeated Kip Sabian with the mousetrap. After the match, Miro, who was on commentary, left commentary and attacked Orange, but the best friends made the save. So we're 2 for 2 on matches having post-match beat-up angles.
I just loved Miro's performance of this layout. Like, he did it very casually, came in, crushed the guy, looked great in the Adidas, and then just did like a casual workout jog to the back, just like looking like he was enjoying himself. Also good on commentary. Showed some of. I do kind of think maybe if we see too much of Miro, if we get to know him too much, then he might diminish his own star a little bit. Even though that's kind of just how stardom works now on the internet with your Twitch streamers and YouTubers and shit. But I thought on commentary he was pretty charming and interesting as a character, and then he capped it off well by killing Orange Cassidy in a very effective way.
Miro yet again proves that he's a main eventer and he owns. I think that's pretty obvious here, and I thought that he did a good job on commentary, and like Nate said, like he looked like a boss laying out Orange Cassidy after this.
I'm sorry to say this, Mike, but the Adidas short suit did drop him down in my swag ratings.
How dare you? How? No,
way, man.
No way.
Sorry, great. Mike, but he should have better clothes than a podcaster. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if it's good enough for Blackpink, it's good enough for Mike and Miro. Ooh, that's a good morning show.
Mike and Miro
in the morning. I would love. I feel like that Miro and I would have a great morning show. And since I've been personally slighted, we might be needing a new co-host for AEW Light.
That's true.
We should make the offer to Miro.
Oh,
I think that you've crossed some dangerous people, Aaron Bentley. You've crossed.
I listened to Miro on Talk is Jericho. My favorite part was, and he at least sounded like he was being serious. He was like, "It's time for us to take AEW mainstream. Jon Moxley, I love him, but he has 30,000 followers on Instagram." He's like, "No, it's time to put the title on me, on like a real crossover star."
Yeah, it's like, to some degree, he's right. That is how young people understand stardom now, is fucking Instagram and shit. So he's not wrong. It is funny that that's how he views everything.
And he called him Johnny Moxley, which I thought was very funny.
God, Miro is the best. Imagine not loving this guy.
Yeah, he's very cool. Okay, then we had what was supposed to be the Omega Moxley contract signing. Kenny Omega came out first. As we were waiting for him, as we're waiting for Moxley, rather, we go up on the screen and we see that he's been knocked out backstage. We come back. Omega says, "Hey, the last time it was an elbow, now it's a bloody nose." He says, "John, you're not getting out of it this time," which I thought this was a pretty good callback to the beginnings of their feud here and cements Omega further as a heel.
Yeah. I think maybe he could have even hit it a little bit harder. Like maybe people don't remember the circumstances of the elbow injury. But him just writing that off as a bloody nose was some funny heel shtick.
I also like that he made such a big deal of in the intro of trying to set him above Moxley, like talking about like he's in the Hall of Fame. He was PW Insider top wrestler in the world before him. He was doing this, and I thought like that was a good way delineating the two. And it's something where it took them approximately 4 weeks, but Kenny Omega is a superstar now.
I remembered the people that we haven't seen, and I was reminded by Mike shouting out PW Insider. FTR lost the belts and then just disappeared.
Yeah, so maybe that's, I mean, the company's just going to do that, where guys disappear, which I think is good. I agree with you.
I think it's good. Unless you really have to go right to something else, but it's only part one of your little feud or whatever. But if that's the end of your feud and you want to crown the other person and establish, no, they're the champion now, no better way than to have them, make Jon Moxley disappear for a month.
Next up was the Inner Circle hangover thing that we've already talked about. Then after that, Pac defeated Blade with the Brutalizer. After the match, Pac turns to Eddie Kingston. He says, "You say you like to fight," but before he can get out anything else, the Butcher attacks him from behind. And then Eddie Kingston, of course, comes down from commentary. He is not impressed. He's not sympathetic for Pac, having been at home for 8 months. He says, "You think you have what it takes? I'm going to put you through the storm," which I like that. I just thought that was a very evocative thing from Eddie Kingston. Phoenix comes out to save Pac, but Kingston and Butcher and Blade got the advantage. And then in an angle that would be repeated later, Pentagon comes out with a chair. We're not sure what he's going to do. Whose side is he on? But he goes after Kingston and clears the ring. So we have the new setup of the Butcher and Blade and Eddie on one team, and the Death Triangle is reformed. I have to say quickly, because I left this out earlier in the listener deletes, I wanted to shout out Discord user M. Gallup, who his delete was, "Everything else on the show was pretty good, but it was all worse than the Death Triangle."
Yeah, I love to see them back. Pentagon, second great run-in fit on this show after Miro.
Boo, first. Number one. Penta number one.
I mean, Mike could buy that sweatshirt.
Could I?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they sell it on Master Republic or something.
Yeah, you're right. I could. I'm probably not going to, but I could.
All right. Backstage, Jade Cargill was attacking Brandy. We talked about that segment already. And then we went into the NWA Women's
Jade
title.
Cargill, very tall.
Very tall. A lot of abs.
Very tall. That's a tall glass of water.
All right, JR. You going to say she's an absolute unit next?
No. I don't engage in these Twitter phrases.
No, isn't that what Ross usually says about the women? It's like, oh, she's a unit. Like the women who are just like bigger, like he has to say something about them being bigger.
Sturdy. Like he's just like they're strong and sturdy. Like that's kind of
sturdy.
What yeah, he does not say absolute unit. He's not talking about former opposition leader of the parliament, Jeremy.
No, he's the absolute boy. Absolute unit was a different Twitter meme.
Yeah, and it was a soccer player. There was like a soccer player that was just massive. Yeah.
Well, Twitter has infected my brain, so I cannot
notice
differentiate
that.
Twitter
Apparently,
from reality.
Picked up on that.
Yeah, apparently Twitter hasn't infected your brain enough so that you're getting your memes right, though.
No, it makes me confuse them for sure. NWA Women's title, Serena Deeb retains. She defeated Thunder Rosa with the Serenity Lock. During the match, as we were talking about, Rebel distracted the ref. Britt Baker attacked Rosa, didn't lead to the finish. And then after the match, they had another big brawl. But this one was good. Rosa and Britt really got it heated and made this feel like a fun feud to watch.
Yeah, I was like, people are so thankful to have Britt Baker involved in something, which is funny. They're like, yes, here comes the juice in this division.
Hitmaker.
Motherfucking Baker. I was right there with him. I'm like, yeah, no. I mean, it was a really good match, but that the post-match angle took it over the top.
And you had I guess it was Rosa who knocked over Bryce Remsburg pretty convincingly, getting it wasn't one of those pull aparts where it's nothing really happens. This was a very good pull apart brawl. This is heated, and I mean it's been clear that they've been kind of protective of Britt in the ring, especially after the what was that even called, that cinematic match that she had with Big Swole, the
tooth for a tooth match.
Tooth and nail match. We did a whole bit about it.
Right. Yeah.
Mine was a joke.
But now this is a feud I'm really into, and I'm excited to see where it can go.
Well, it was also cool to see Thunder Rosa, which I know she had the match with Sheeta, but it's okay, it feels like she's really being integrated into the division if she's now interacting with Britt. Also, I'm really fascinated about what happened with Thunder Rosa to where it was holy shit, we got to get all the belts off of her, and then all this stuff hit the media of oh, is she going to WWE? Is she signing with AEW? And then the response was, actually, she signed for another year with NWA. So it just feels like something was cooking, and then it went away, and now we're just back on the train we were on before. I wonder if we'll ever know what that was.
That is, yeah. I get, you can, if you want to be generous, take every criticism. We don't really know what happens a lot of the time where they start and stop things, and there's COVID going on, and people have injuries that aren't reported in AEW really. So hard to say, but that was very unusual. And there definitely seemed like there was some kind of break, and then it just continued right where it left off.
Yes, but it's a match that I'm looking forward to, or just a feud I'm looking forward to. So it's good to have Rosa around for sure. Then we had the Anna Jay and John Silver backstage segment. Silver says, before the Dark Order found you, you were a rookie. You were the star of the show. Now you're the Queen Slayer, undefeated in your last 4 matches, ranked in the top 5. And Anna Jay said to Hikaru Shida, the last time we wrestled, you took advantage of a rookie, but now allow me to reintroduce myself. And we announced that Anna Jay will challenge for the title next week on Dynamite.
I think John and Anna have some chemistry. I also, this is maybe headcanon or maybe just the sort of patterns that you pick up in a psychedelic fueled vision when you watch a lot of BTE, I have to do for our Patreon. I have this idea that they rib her a lot about her star of the show gimmick, where she was a magician's assistant, and that's funny to me because it's yeah, that is funny.
It's very funny. I definitely think, let's talk old memes. We need a Preston Vance, but it's John Silver, the guy she told you not to worry about. I mean, I fucked it up, but you guys know what I mean.
I don't know.
Okay, in this meme,
which order are they supposed to be going?
Preston Vance is you, okay, and then John Silver is the guy she told you not to worry about.
Okay,
you got it?
Yeah, it makes sense.
But why Preston Vance?
That's her. I believe they're dating.
Okay,
that's what I'm told. That's what I'm told. I don't know that to be sure.
There is a ongoing bit on BTE now where John prefers to hug Preston Vance than he does Anna Jay. So
I love Nate. I mean, you watched BTE long before we did this podcast or had a Patreon. I love the idea that you would no longer watch BTE if we didn't have a Patreon.
Yeah, well, see, somebody asked on our Q&A episode for the Patreon what the hardest part of doing the podcast and Patreon is, and it's that I have to do things.
Sure.
I don't want to do anything that I have to do simply for the reason that I have to do it. Sure. So, yeah, then it becomes an obligation. Then it's no, I don't want to do any obligations. I want to do anything else but obligations. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. We had a Darby video. He's in a church. There's, I wrote very cool, chill music.
Oh, I meant to shout out the music, both here and in the second Hangover video. This was perfect for Darby, the music that they scored this with. And the music in the second Hangover video was weirdly Disney magical fairyland adjacent. It reminded me of something from the Page Master, but it was Swoggle in a diaper. Anyway, I always give a shout out to AEW's willingness to use not traditional wrestling music on their show, and I think it worked here as well.
There was also fire, by the way. And then we went into the main event. Brian Cage and Ricky Starks defeated Cody and Darby Allin. Cage pinned Darby with an avalanche drill claw. They did the Will Hobbs angle after the match. Everybody knows I hate when the champion gets pinned in a
Thought that
tag.
was going to be your delete here.
Yeah, I mean, I did hate it. And like I said that in Discord, people were like, well, that's what I expected was going to happen. Well, okay, but they booked the match. Like, yes, it looks like Darby would be the guy to take the fall in this match, but you made him the champion, and then you booked this match.
I kind of liked it. I think you're totally valid in not liking it when champions get pinned. I think that's usually correct. But I think Brian Cage needed a little something because I don't know that he's had a big quality win since his title challenge against Moxley, right? And I also think Darby is not a champion where you're supposed to believe that he can win every match. You know, you look at his win-loss record, he's like 9-4 or something, and he's always the undersized guy. I think that it can even work to your advantage if you have him take falls that aren't, don't really hurt him here, but then that makes when he gets these big, undersized against the giant comebacks in his singles title matches, makes them feel more special.
Yeah, it's weird because on one hand, I mean, you're right that it's like Darby is not just out destroying people all the time, but that also means that you have to be protective of him so that you still think he can get the win. And it's like, if this is going to lead to a Darby Brian Cage match, when you look at that, there's no reason to believe that Darby could beat him unless you show with Darby over and over and over again that he finds a way to come from beneath and go against all odds and get the win, So I just worry that you take a little bit of his mystique away. It's like, dude, if you put the belt on Darby and then you book this match, I know you want to protect Cody, but Cody's got to take the fall here. Brian Cage pinning Cody would have been a huge thing for him as far as getting his momentum going into something else.
Yeah, I think maybe pinning Cody is 5% better. That's where I'd put it.
I guess like my thing about this is the feud clearly was that Ricky and Team Taz is like the person that Taz chose when Darby chose him, turn him back. And it kind of like pulls focus away from what I think the core feud is now, that in all rights and privileges, Brian Cage should have a TNT title shot, right?
I think they blew off Ricky and Darby. I think it's moving to Darby and Cage.
Yeah, I think he made it through him, even though I think that's the much more interesting story is Darby and Ricky. But yeah, I think it's like, oh, he beat Ricky. So now he's like moving up in the Team Taz, whatever. All right. If you enjoy this fine podcast, if I do say so myself, and you want to support us, head on over to patreon.com/everythingelite. Try out a subscription. We got 3 tiers, but $5 will get you all the audio we do, all the audio we've ever done. This week, we had the Talkin' Shop-A-Mania 2 review. It was Nate. It was Oatgan. It was Drew Spears. How did it go, Nate?
I thought it went pretty well. Maybe not as good as the first one. What'd you think, Aaron? You really like the first one, I know.
Okay, let's try not to undersell the content on the Patreon.
I feel like part of my gimmick also is radical honesty. So yeah, I still had fun. I laughed a lot.
I really enjoyed listening to it, and it encouraged me to go seek out Talkin' Shop-A-Mania 2.
Thank you, Mike.
See, I've never had that problem listening to your Talkin' Shop-A-Mania reviews. I think listening to the review is all I need from the content. I don't actually have to watch the show.
Yeah, you probably don't really need to watch the show. So hey, it's a value because it's cheaper than the show was.
That's right.
There you go.
This is like, to me, a podcasting all-star team. So I just suggest that everyone check it out. We, of course, also, Mike and I, on Light, we preview Dynamite, review Dark. Nate comes in with the BTE quick hits. Next week on Dynamite, Mike and I are doing This Is Jon Moxley. We're tearing into the entirety of Jon Moxley's career, based around, as we did with the Chris Jericho episode, based around 5 of his matches, but we'll kind of intersperse some of the story in between those matches.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot. I'm taking the lead here as someone who has been watching a lot of pre-WWE John Moxley earlier. So it's going to be fun. I submitted the matches to AB. We're going to only make a brief stay in Dragon Gate USA, but then we're going to go look at like the overall kind of arc that he's had throughout his career, and just like an interesting person to like talk about their rise over the last 11 years. So it's a lot more compact than the Jericho episode, but I think there's going to be a lot of kind of interesting things to talk about, the twists and turns of one John Moxley.
I'm looking forward to it. So head over to patreon.com/everythingelite and sign up now. Okay. Next week on Dynamite, here's what we know is happening. Chris Jericho and Jake Hager versus the SCU team, Frankie Kazarian and Christopher Daniels. The women's title will be on the line with Hikaru Shida defending against Anna Jay. Pac and Ray Phoenix taking on the Butcher and the Blade, which I think Pac and Phoenix is like a very fun tag team. And also Will Hobbs will be in action.
Looks like an interesting episode. I mean, I think Butcher and the Blade versus Pac and Phoenix, as you said, is pretty compelling stuff. And it's kind of interesting. Like, this is how they're going to get the two sides together into what I hope is going to be like this big giant trios blow off. Like, that's what I'm hoping comes out of this. But I like this first step here. Like, Pac and Phoenix in a tag team is such a wild thing. Just the concept of it excites me.
And then, of course, we are 2 weeks away. Is that right? From Winter is Coming. And that will have the men's world title match, John Moxley defending against Kenny Omega. So that's coming up very quickly.
So before we go, what Game of Thrones tie-ins or what other Warner Media properties do you want All Elite Wrestling to co-op as they're able to, apparently? Because I think they should do a How to Get By in America thing around July 1st or July 4th.
That's right. I guess we didn't say this, but it came out that this is an official tie-in. They have leased, I don't know, the license. That's the right term. They've licensed Winter is Coming from Game of Thrones, or from Warner Media, basically. So this is real shit.
Yeah, that's funny to me. I think the reference in a vacuum is like a little bit cringe, because it's like nobody likes Game of Thrones anymore. And even that particular season was, I don't know, feels like a decade ago. But that it's officially licensed from Warner Media makes it good to me and funny to me. Doing a quick look at the wiki, because Mike sprung this on us. I've got to go with we need the AEW X Crunchyroll collaboration.
Ooh.
Have Miro shoot an angle at the official anime awards. I think that's where the money is.
I'm thinking that they should. So Tony Khan's already tried to become best booker. I think Tony Khan should try to overtake the Dave Meltzer star system with, that's right, AEW X Rotten Tomatoes.
I don't know about that.
That's just Grapple, isn't it?
The Grapple app.
Grapple.
Larry Sanders.
Okay.
That's good. Ooh, a hologram? Larry Sanders hologram?
Yeah, I mean, sadly, Gary Shanley has passed, and you don't want Jeremy Turnbull on, so I kind of made things difficult there. I
feel like Tony Khan, Larry Sanders Show is probably the best comedy that Tony Khan could like, right? we know he's like a South Park guy.
Oh,
there's no way
Larry Sanders is I don't know. I feel like because it was HBO, and he had HBO.
Oh, absolutely. Do you think he watched Stream On?
No.
I'm right now just naming 1990s HBO shows. So, I mean, we've already had the Arliss crossover in WCW.
Remember when Arliss was on television?
I mean, I guess like the thing is we have to make sure there's some no new rules and no Bill Maher.
Oh, please
Sorry,
no.
I had to do that bad reference. I regret that immediately. I apologize, everyone, for putting you all through that.
No, it's okay. I didn't mind it. I'm trying to think. I mean, Adult Swim is a Warner property.
Well, you named one. You got one.
Yeah. And they've already done Rick and Morty before.
Oh, do you see Ariana Grande was on Adult Swim the other day? Did you see that clip?
I did not see that.
They did a live Thundercat show. Fuck, is that the right name?
The Thundercats? Yeah.
No, the bassist guy who does cool like yacht rock.
Oh, that's beyond me now.
Yeah, you've moved beyond anything I know.
So it's Thundercat. I because that's also like a classic Hanna-Barbera cartoon or whatever. I was like, wait, that can't be right because I got it mixed up with Cartoon Network. Thundercat, he's like, LA West Coast, cool bassist guy that does like contemporary, contemporarily influenced yacht rock adjacent stuff. It's good shit. Anyway, they had like a live concert on Adult Swim the other day from his studio or whatever, and Ariana Grande showed up in the middle of it and sat in and started singing a song. So there you go. Big opportunity. If Tony can't swing BTS and Joe Biden can't swing BTS, let's get Ariana by way of Adult Swim.
All right.
I think it's possible.
I like that.
Yeah. Because she's not at the inauguration because we know she's a Bernie girl.
That's right. That's absolutely right. Okay, well, I think that's everything for this week. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at Everything AEW. Make sure you are following all of us. I'm at Aaron Like the Car, Nate's at Epitasis, Mike's at Fuji Heya. Subscribe to the podcast on the podcast app of your choice. Give us a 5-star rating and a review on the Apple Podcast app. If you want to support the show, 2 main ways to do it: patreon.com/Everything Elite, or head over to MyBookie, use the promo code ELITE, and get a big fat double deposit bonus. So
it's actually like making money out of thin air if you think about it, because like not only do you get 100% back on your deposit, you also make money for us. So it's like if everybody did that, we could solve all the economical problems. We could just be printing money basically. I don't know why nobody's come up with this before.
That's true. If all our listeners would go put some money into MyBookie and get double their deposit, then yeah, they'd get rich. We'd get rich. I think everything would be great. You're right.
No downside.
Wow. There is no downside.
This money thing's fake, dude. It's just made up.
Everything Elite's going to become a modern monetary theory podcast very quickly.
I have some opinions about the gold standard that I'm ready to get into when this happens.
All right. Cut the mics. All right. For Mike, for Nate, I'm AB. We'll see you next week.